Oops, hold on. Oh, thank you for Michelle for recording, I think. Okay, let me hit okay. There we go. All right, so first off, we have been doing work on refactoring our LTI plugin. We had an older set of code that had some issues and frustrations, and as our team was evaluating best path forward, made the decision to do some refactoring that will improve the performance and the stability and supportability of this over time, and also provide some great simplifying things in terms of getting it implemented and using it on our client side. So the new core plugin is just about ready to roll out. It covers dynamic registration, the registration URL for the learning management system that says Canvas, but it is something that works across all of the major LMSs, so Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, and D2L Brightspace. There's a simplified common cartridge, import-export. There's support for deep linking, which is new and different from what we supported previously. We have not yet built the grade passback piece into it, but anticipate that as we figure out our path there, that's something that we are hoping to add in a little bit. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. So from your perspective, it means that it will support that seamless user experience for those who want to use Pressbooks and have their students access Pressbooks inside the learning management system. The implementation of this plugin is much simpler for people who haven't yet implemented LTI and want to do that with their campus. It also is a very simple implementation, kind of a behind the scenes thing. If you've already established and have that LTI connection, there's essentially no effort on your side. It will kind of unplug and plug in the new thing behind the scenes. And so we won't need to cause a lot of implementation hassle from that perspective as this rolls out. It is already certified with One EdTech. And again, it will address some of the stability and supportability issues that we ran into previously. Let me share a little bit more. So it is going to be available for all of our enterprise network clients who have LTI that's included in their contract. Initially, we're rolling it out only to those who are not using Pressbooks Results, because when you implement this new thing, it will unattach, it will replace the old LTI, which is what has the Pressbooks Results grade passback right now. We did a push earlier this year to make sure we understood who all is using that solution. And so we're putting them on a separate track in terms of the migration. As I mentioned a minute ago, it's a quick behind the scenes activation for people that already have LTI established. And then for new LTI users who are just putting this in place for the first time, it's quite a bit simpler than the prior process was. And our support team will be leading the process of reaching out and coordinating timing for those who do have LTI integration in place. We'll be doing that in May and June, and so we can work with you on timing and so forth if this is something that impacts your campus. If you have questions, you can contact our premium support, or you can reach out to your account manager. You can ask questions now. So let me pause and ask, are there any questions about this? And we also have our tech team, or several of our tech team on board. So if there are questions that are a little bit more technical, we've got the right people on for that as well. Okay, I should check chat. All right. Okay, we will keep going. So the next thing we wanted to share is do a show and tell of the shared network features that are new. I want to do a quick shout out to our development partner, eCampus Ontario. So they are a large multi-institution consortium. And they've had reached out to us last year, asking in particular for some administrative features that can help with how do we make it easier to manage and coordinate all of the work that's happening across a lot of institutions that are sharing a common Pressbooks network. And so we worked with them, and with their support have been able to develop a new set of features that we will be able to make available to basically anybody that is working in that kind of a multi-campus or multi-institution shared network environment. So we'll take a look and see what these actually look like in a minute. Quill and John are going to do a walkthrough guided by Michelle. But the specific new capabilities making it possible to assign users and books to member institutions to make it easier to see, you know, across our network, how many books has a particular institution published? How many users do they have in place? That type of thing. We are also creating a new institutional manager role that is kind of a more limited set of administrative features, so that someone like Quill at your level, you can directly administer the users and the books at your institution and not have the kind of dangerous responsibilities of being able to do everything for the whole network. In that term, that kind of, I guess, user rights management and kind of managing the security of the systems and so forth. That's been a point of concern for some of our consortial clients about, you know, how many people have access to all of the power in administratively. And so this institutional manager role helps distribute that, and ideally, hopefully will make that kind of administration across a whole system or consortium a little bit more manageable. And then also, of course, analytics and metrics associated with those, both at the institution and the total network level. So we are hoping that this will empower more of our consortial customers around managing their own use of Pressbooks effectively across the whole system, as well as for individual institutions. Hopefully it will feel more inclusive and being able to share more of the responsibility and administrative kind of rights and access with member institutions. And then, of course, improve visibility around what's happening and how is it happening and where is it happening, so that folks working cross system can just have greater visibility into what's happening across their members. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we will do the show and tell. If you have questions, feel free to jump in with questions verbally or put them in the chat.
Great, thank you, Julie. So first, we are going to be touring the interface to see what a network manager would see of a consortia. So I'm going to actually ask John if you would like to help show us that. If you could go ahead and start sharing your screen. Awesome. So when you first get onto the network, you can see that the plugin is active. There is a new institutions item on the menu on the left-hand side. And so if you go into that, it'll take you to the institution list. And this is where you are going to be keeping track of the institutions that are part of your consortia, essentially. So at the moment, I filled this in with some data. We have 4 institutions here. You can see that some of the information that comes with them. You can enter your email domains. There's an option for a buy-in status. You can see who the institutional managers are for those institutions, as well as the book and user limits. And below this chart, you can also see there's a book and user totals chart. So you can see that there are unassigned books. This is what everything will really be before it gets designated into the institutions. And so they haven't been allocated yet. The shared network totals are the amount of books that exist on the consortial network that make use of the network without buying in. And then the premium network totals are the numbers of books and users that exist on networks that have bought in. They can have their own sort of defined books and user counts. And then, of course, the all network totals tallies how many books are on the network. This is what you see on this page. Do you have any questions, John?
I don't have any questions, but I guess I do.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested in how do I assign users and books.
Yeah, of course. So first, we're going to actually do one thing to like sort of add and edit an institution before we get to that point, just so we see what the process is like. So if you could go to the Add Institution, either in the menu or use the button at the top. So this is what you would see when you are adding an institution. So at the moment, you only have access to the name and email domain. Feel free to add an institution here, John. So at the moment, you only have that name and email domain field, which will be perfect for many institutions, as they might not have the capacity to have institutional managers or the current need for member buy-in. But this is something that can always be changed. It just needs to be communicated with Pressbooks, and we're able to do that for you. So once you're finished, you can go ahead and save the form, unless you want to add another email domain. Awesome. And then I'll just also reflect that change. So correct to assume that your network might need institutional managers, John?
Yep.
Okay, I will change that on my end.
Okay.
Those changes have been saved. So now if you go into editing Fantasy College, you should see that now the institutional manager field has become active and you are able to select an institutional manager. We're not going to select one just yet, but we will come back to this. The next thing that we're going to do is assigning users to institutions. So we're going to go to the Assign Users tab in the menu. And so when you get here, you can see that there are a few fields that you have available. So in the chart, you have everything is sorted by username, the actual name, the email that the user has, and their institution. At first, this chart, everything will come up as unassigned, but you can see that some of the things here have been assigned, and there are still some institutions that have yet to be assigned. Generally, like you can tell which user belongs to which institution based on their email domain. But in this instance, because we're working with some sort of demo data, you can see that the email is listed with the institution. They sort of have these numbers like user 13, institution 3. So that's the kind of way that we've set it up here. And the last sort of institution that has been left is institution 3. And all of those are unassigned at the moment. John, would you be able to select the users that are from institution 3 and then apply them to Fantasy University that you have created? Or Fantasy College, my mistake. Great, so you can see that those have been updated in the institution, and we have these users have been assigned to Fantasy College. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to identify which books also belong to which universities or institutions. So we are going to go to the Assign Books tab. Yeah. So to have a really good understanding of which books belong where, of course, you can look at the email addresses of the book administrators on the right-hand side. One other thing is if you happen to assign your users to institutions before the step, you'll also be able to see exactly which institution they belong to, which might make this task a little bit simpler. You can see some have been assigned to institutions and some are unassigned. So you can easily use the search function to look for institutions. Or at the top, you also have a filter between all of the books and the unassigned books if you want to sort of separate those. And if you type in, institution 3, go for it. Doesn't look like we have any books right now. So if we actually type in institution 2, we can see if we have all of these allocated to the right institutions. And so right now it looks like there are a lot of unassigned books, but it also looks like many of the people that belong to these books are in Evergreen University. So for this, we're just going to select, some of them are applied, but not all of them. but we'll go ahead and apply all of them and make sure that they are assigned to Evergreen University. Awesome. Okay, and lastly, we are going to go back to the institution list and actually designate an institutional manager for the Fantasy College. Now that we've assigned users to certain institutions, we should be able to find a good institutional manager for institution 3, which was Fantasy College. You can see a lot of have come up, but yeah, that's a totally suitable candidate. Great. So that is what like the new plugin features looks like. There are still a couple of other things that are also affected by this. So the next thing, we're just going to take a look at the book list and user list to see some filtering capabilities that have also been added with this. So if you go to the book list, you can see that there's now an institution column, as well as there's an institution tab within the filters. So you can see that those institutions are reflected here. So if you need to search through these book lists, you are able to do that here. And if you go to the user list, we have the same sort of filtering and column as well. So there's an institution tab in the filters, and you can also see who belongs to which institution in that institution column, or whether or not people have been assigned to it. And on the stats page, there's also has been one change. We'll go over to stats and take a look at the on the page view and download data, there is a download CSV option. And within that, we have made a new column so you're able to sort this data better by institution. So we are just going to download the CSV. And you might have to reshare your screen to pull up the document that comes up.
Okay. So just download?
Yeah, just download.
Okay. Okay, and I'll just.
Yeah, and you can see now on the right-hand side, many of these books have been applied to certain institutions, and that is reflected on the right-hand side, including all of the ones that we just changed. So that is the new feature that has been added to that. And essentially, those are all of the changes that we have when network managers view their information from the Shared Network plugin. Thank you, John.
Awesome, thanks.
The next thing that we're going to do is actually zoom in a little bit more and from going from what a network manager sees to actually looking at what an institutional manager sees. So one of these people that has been given more information about their own network and the books and the users that are on it. And for that, we're going to have Quill also help us. So hey, Quill, are you ready to help share? Thank you. So this is what you would see when you come on as an institutional manager. It is a similar subset of information, but it is just more compact. So you can see that you can administer Evergreen University, you can view the book list, the user list, and there are some stats to explore as well. And so first we are going to just take a look at the book list. And we can see that all of those books that were just added to Evergreen University show up in this list. The institution column only contains information for Evergreen University. And so there is no need to filter by any additional information here, but it does allow you to have insight into that. And we'll also go to the user list so we can see that subset of information as well. And so we can see that there are only a handful of users, but that is a really great insight. If we go to the stats page, let's see if there is stats for Evergreen University. So this also is a subset of info. It's a very new account, and so it doesn't look like we have too much going on here yet. But this will be developed further. And that essentially is what you have as an institutional manager. Thank you, Quill. I guess I will just turn it back to Julie, unless there are other questions that anyone has here after looking at the demo.
So Quill would be able to add users and assign books and so forth using the same type of mechanism that something similar to what John did, right? But for that, just that specific institution. Am I correct in that assumption?
I believe that they are assigned to the institution. I don't believe that they can add them themselves.
Oh, adding new users. Okay.
Adding your own users. I'm unsure actually at the moment.
Okay. John?
I believe it's only network managers that can assign users to an institution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but to create, okay, but if so, let's say if Quill had 3 new people that she wanted to create user accounts, does that have to go through the original network manager, or can that happen by the institutional manager?
They can happen through the institutional manager.
Okay.
Thank you, Ricardo.
So it takes some of that administrative burden off of the network manager by letting Quill or someone in that role do that kind of user administration for their own campus.
And one of the questions I had to just because as Quill had described, she wears many hats, including it looks like a book hat. But when in that book list, Quill now doesn't need to be added to each one of those books as and a book administrator. She can access all those books from the users at Evergreen College just by going through the book list and clicking through and be able to see what her users are doing, help answer any questions or solve any problems that they have. Is that right?
So that's one of the questions I actually had. So I know that the network manager is going to have to go back and assign the books that have already been created at my institution because this didn't exist before. But if a new book is created by somebody who is in my network, will it automatically go into my network?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, as long as the user is assigned, then what they create will be associated with the network, the institution that they're assigned to. So get people assigned before they start creating their books, and then you'll be in good shape.
So, and then that was my other, so if I create a user, they would be automatically assigned to my network. But if they go through the process we use now is they sign up using their email address on their own, and then it's automatic. So those folks, as long as they're using the email address for my institution, would be tied to my institution, or does my network manager have to manage that?
That's a good question. I'm looking at is there an auto assign for a new user if their email address matches the domain?
I believe that this is the case. I remember Steele making sure that this was one thing that was going to be showing up. And so I believe, yes.
Yeah, that's why when I created a Fantasy College, I entered the domain email domain for Fantasy College so that now any new users coming for Fantasy College will be associated with that institution automatically.
All right, other questions? So Quill, how will this simplify your life?
I think the first thing is it'll be a lot easier to track our stats. Like, how many books do we actually have as an institution? Because I can't tell you how many people forget to add our admin account as admins on their books, because why would they think about that unless I'm sitting there with them? So just being able to know how many books do we have is a huge step up for me. It'll also, I think, I'm hoping, make troubleshooting easier, because that's one of the things that happens, right? If somebody doesn't set you up and then they have a problem and they need you to fix it, you can't even see their book. You have to make an appointment and sit down with them. And it could be like 3 seconds of, oh, it just wasn't loading right for you, or it's your browser, reset your cache. It could be so much easier to troubleshoot with people when I don't have to go, I'm going to need you to invite me to the book, and they don't know how, and all of those things.
Awesome. That's good. We're delighted to hear that. Okay, other questions before we keep going? All right. I kind of want to put our tech team, so Ricardo or Thomas or Christopher, I'll put you on the spot. You guys have been busy building this out. Any thoughts from you as you've been able to see Quill use it and hear what she's looking forward to?
I can say that our primary client who helped us, who partnered in developing this with us, they were very excited when we delivered this to them, and it was nice to see those kinds of smiles and a happy customer. I think they have quite a large number of books and institutions in their network. So for their network managers, they started having a problem with too many cooks, or they were just bringing more and more network managers to deal with the super high volume. Of course, when you have too many cooks, you have people stepping on each other's toes. And this hopefully will eliminate, or at least greatly reduce, those problems.
Yep. Excellent.
And I will say also, Quill, that a lot of these changes and a lot of this work was initiated by what Bo Young Jay had been advocating for your users across the state. So thank you for that.
I can totally see that, because, we're a really big group of people who are really far apart from each other and don't always talk to each other about what we're doing.
Yeah, but Young came to, she did an update with our team for our year kickoff retreat last summer, and as we were asking what are some of the pain points and challenges, she kind of went off on why she needed this kind of institutional manager role and some of the limitations that it was creating for their ability to grow without it. And so it's wonderful to be able, less than a year later, to be able to say, okay, we are able to bring this stuff to you. So. All right, and thank you, Quill, for adding being able to have more visibility into projects that are similar. You're right, and I think there's that within you and your immediate community. I know from talking to network managers who are facilitating stuff happening across the consortium, being able to see, oh, here's something that's happening that looks similar at this institution, this institution, this institution, being able to better kind of draw those connections across the broader the broader system or group of members is also helpful. And be able to see quickly, oh, it's where are those projects being housed and who is it that we need to get connected to each other. Okay, awesome. I will share my screen, and if there's no other questions or comments, we will keep going. Okay, so a little bit more on this. So who can get this? So consortial and system level clients who are on current tiered or unlimited plans. And in terms of that institutional manager role, that's available for institutional members who have a premium buy-in, who have said, yes, we want our own ability to do more publishing, basically. There may be an additional fee for some consortia that are on legacy plans, or for those where there are no premium buy-ins. So we have some kind of ways of kind of working that out, and account managers can speak more to that for those who are interested in learning more. We will be able to start delivering this in May, so starting next month. It is a plugin, basically. It adds into your existing enterprise network. Our support team will be coordinating how we are delivering the plugin and activating it and making sure that all goes smoothly for you. And then we'll have training and documentation available to be able to help your people know what to do and move forward with it. So we are going to be planning in May a few things. So first off, Michelle is going to be doing some more user research preview sessions. So opportunities to do essentially like what we just saw with Quill and John. So going in and kind of a guided tour, playing around, asking questions, and also getting some feedback about the user experience. And so anyone that's interested or open to be part of that, Michelle will be doing that over the next few weeks. And so we'll have some information about how to volunteer for that. And we've got a few people who've been involved in some of the prior user research around this that Michelle will be reaching out to proactively as well. We're going to be doing an informational webinar to dig a little bit deeper into this in May. So we'll have information about that. We'll put that out through the Network Manager newsletter, and then probably just send out emails to let folks know. And then account managers can also share more information for those who are eager to move forward. Michelle, do you want to talk for a minute about the user preview research sessions?
Yeah, so it is similar to what you just saw, but you will have like explicit access to the network for 24 hours. So you can go ahead and try all these features out and really see how they work for you. Think about it on your own time. Just feel free to take a look at my calendar link through this QR code or send me an email. And then you'll be able to kind of work with it firsthand. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, in the category of coming soon, wait, hold on, I just want to see if I missed anything. Okay, Ariana had to drop off. So, in terms of an update, so we've gotten questions periodically about what's happening with Pressbooks Results. As you know, we paused our pilot. We ran into some technical challenges last fall that required some re-architecture. Pressbooks Results is our product that was aiming to provide automatic grade passback between H5P activities that are embedded in Pressbooks books and the learning management system. And generally, our customers love the idea of Pressbooks doing more to support interactivity and formative assessment, and that LMS grade passback is super handy. We are seeing lots of organic growth and interest in H5P. And then as people are trying that out, saying, it would be super awesome if there was also a grade passback element. Due to those technical and some usability issues, we paused that pilot so we could figure out a better path forward. We have had this term, a few clients have continued to use Pressbooks Results with those known limitations and issues. So that's been happening in the background, and we've been exploring our both product strategy and our business model, as well as the technical path to deliver something that will be a better option than what we had delivered previously. And so we've been having a lot of kind of research sessions. We've had a lot of validation that nearly everybody wants the option to use that H5P with LMS grade passback. Not everybody is actively using it, but many organizations and faculty are trying that out and saying, yeah, there's a lot that we want to do more with that interactivity with H5P, and having an LMS grade passback option makes that viable in both helping potentially to really replace traditional publisher materials with OER. But I think the single greatest benefits are we can actually start to see which of our students are doing the reading and creating this external motivation for students to spend time in the learning materials and interacting with them. And so that is important, and making learning materials engaging and effective is, of course, an important goal for open educational resources, and anything else that you would want to do in a digital publishing platform like Pressbooks. We've also had a lot of validation that per student pricing model that we had introduced previously has a lot of problems. It's not very predictable. There are budgetary challenges. And so that has also caused us to explore, are there more community-driven alternatives for how we make this feasible, both technically and economically for our customers? And so we will have more to share about that. So as I mentioned, we've had a lot of product discovery conversations. Those are continuing, and the focus of those has been shifting as we've been learning more. Our tech team has been evaluating the technical feasibility for a lighter and more reliable grade passback. In fact, today we'll have a report out on the latest phase of that work. And I want to say we are optimistic. We are not ready to say, okay, here's what's happening, but we expect to be able to share more in May about next steps and what's happening with the solution. So questions about this, or Christopher, Ricardo, anything you would like to add there?
I think I'll just restate that, yes, we are definitely excited to move forward on this. We felt pretty bummed out about having to pause the pilot, but our sort of investigation inward and looking at different technology paths have really opened up some doors for us. So it's looking very exciting for us.
All right, thank you. Questions or anything on that one? Okay. In terms of what else is ahead. So anyone who's attending the Library Publishing Forum, I will be there. There are a couple of different panel discussions that we are facilitating there. And so if you're going to be there, let us know. It would be fun to connect there. And then we have our Getting Started with Pressbooks and Advanced Pressbooks Publishing webinars scheduled for May and June here. And I will note, we kind of forget to say this sometimes, but in some of those product discovery conversations, I'm realizing that not everyone realizes this, talking to some instructors, and they say, is there like a webinar that I could go to help me with like how to use H5P or how to get more familiar with some of these things? And these webinars are open to anyone. So it can be network managers, it can be end users, it can be people that are, Pressbooks curious and just getting started. It could be instructional designers that are supporting instructors that are doing things with Pressbooks. So I just want to have that plug of making sure that you're putting this information out for your communities if you're not already doing that, because that we want that to be a helpful resource for you and for those that you work with. All right. Ooh, awesome, Kate. It's good to know you and Ariana will be at the Library Publishing Forum. So I will reach out. We'll have to find opportunities to connect while we're there. All right. Our last thing then is a community roundtable. So does anyone have interesting projects or that they would like to share, new things that are coming up, any topics that you want to put on the table? Just a few minutes I will stop sharing here and just give the group opportunities to jump in if there's anything you want to put on the table.